Strobe Studios presents Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger in The Watson Files. Coming to you from the illustrious Strobe Studios in the heart of America, this is Craig Dahlen. And now, let's join the doctor and see what story he has for us today.
Come in. Craig, I've been looking forward to your visit.
Hello, Jack. How are you this evening?
I'm doing just fine. Here, have a cigar and I'll tell you tonight's story. Just be careful.
Careful with a cigar? Is it dangerous?
The Surgeon General says that it is, but I think that it might be for a different reason as well.
I'm guessing this has something to do with tonight's story.
You are quite perceptive as always, Craig.
Well, what happened?
Holmes and I had decided to take in a performance at a local comedy club. The show was just mediocre. I've heard many of the jokes before, but what happened afterward was fairly interesting. One of the comedians, a man named Simon Cole, had just finished his set when...
So the bartender says, "Oh, that's just the peanuts. They're complimentary." When we were little, my teacher used to make us line up from shortest to tallest when there was a fire drill. I ask you, what's the logic in that? Do taller people burn slower? And I see the light flashing, which means my time is up. Thank you. You've been a great audience. Tip your waitresses.
Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Our next performer will leave you in stitches. Please welcome to the stage, Lester Flint.
Watson, I don't think I can take much more of this.
I know what you mean. I'd almost prefer to listen to Quentin spout his absurd riddles than sit through another one of these guys.
Good, let's go. I'm not sure why I let you talk me into that, Jack.
I know how you get when you haven't had a case in a while. I thought it might be a nice distraction.
In the future, perhaps we can focus our attentions on more intellectually stimulating endeavors.
Indeed. It's still pretty early, though. What shall we do with the rest of our evening?
Perhaps we can just enjoy a stroll through the park.
Certainly. So, have you been working on any new experiments?
I'm afraid that this particular slump has left me with little inspiration.
I see. Well, perhaps tomorrow you can come by the office and help me with a few of my patients. My workload is quite severe.
I appreciate the effort, Watson, but my medical knowledge is not adequate enough to permit me to help you with your work.
I suppose you're right. You could always do some filing or get me coffee or whatnot.
Really, Jack, I'm quite certain that filing is not a good use of my abilities either.
I'd consider us even for that time that you drugged me at the aquarium.
That might make it worth it, if only to stop you from bringing that minor indiscretion back to my attention at every possible moment.
I think it was a little more than a minor indiscretion, Holmes.
Another interesting point of view, Watson.
Isn't that Officer Weathers' car?
I believe that it is. At least he always seems to be busy. Perhaps I should consider becoming a proper policeman.
You'd have to give up your lockpicks.
Ah, well, that simply won't do.
I didn't think so. Evening, officer. What seems to be the trouble?
How did you find us here?
I wasn't looking for you, but I happened to see you walking down the street coming from the direction that I'm headed and had a hunch that I should pick you up. There was a call from the comedy club up the block. One of the comedians is dead.
That is a coincidence. We were just there not more than a few minutes ago.
I thought you didn't believe in coincidence. I'm sure we could use your help if you'd like to join me.
I don't know, Max. I've just vowed never to go back to that dreadful place again.
Holmes, I'm surprised that you aren't diving at the opportunity for a case.
Very well, Watson, but if we have to endure more terrible attempts at humor through all of this, I'm holding you responsible.
Sometimes I wonder if you shouldn't spend more time with Quentin in the asylum.
I can arrange for that if you'd like.
Weathers, I'm surprised. This is no time for jokes. Someone is dead. Shouldn't we be making our way to the scene?
Yeah. Get in. Who said it was a joke?
about time you people got here. I called 10 minutes ago.
Sorry for the delay, sir. I'm Officer Weathers. This is Spencer Holmes and Jack Watson. They're consultants.
Fine. What's left of them is this way.
Ugh, what happened to him?
Elementary, my dear Watson, he was burned to death.
Well, I can see that much. Who was he?
His name is Simon Cole.
Wasn't he the one who had just finished when we left?
Indeed. Could this be a case of spontaneous human combustion, Watson? I've read quite a lot on the subject, and nothing else around the body seems to be burned, so it fits the bill.
I'm fairly certain that the spontaneous human combustion phenomenon is just a myth. And it certainly wasn't his incendiary wit that caused him to burst into flame, so we can rule that out.
Is there any kind of security footage?
Only at the public areas.
Did he have any enemies that you know of?
He wasn't real popular as a comedian, but I don't know anyone who hated him enough to do this to him.
If no one appreciated his comedy, then why did you let him perform here?
He was my brother-in-law, and my sister needed the money. I don't know what she'll do now.
Holmes, are you sniffing the body?
You will recall that this method has been of service to us in the past.
Right, but it's still weird. I don't know what you hope to gain.
Isn't it peculiar that a body was burned in this room, but there is no overwhelming smell of charred flesh?
You're right.
Yes, of course. Further, this all happened very quickly. We couldn't have been away for more than 10 minutes. And he also appears to have been sitting in a chair in the middle of the room.
Who sits in the middle of a room?
So we're looking at murder?
I would say that is much more likely than a mere accident. Here, have a look through my glass. There are small blue crystals on the remains.
I see them, but what are they?
It's difficult to say, but I'd wager that they are used to mask the odor that should be present.
Could he have done this to himself?
It's possible, but he is also covered in white powder in addition to the blue crystals. I assume that is from the use of the fire extinguisher there.
Which means that someone put him out and then covered him with the crystals.
You are correct, Watson.
So how can we go about finding the person responsible?
I have an idea, but it's a long shot.
Really? Well, by all means, Max.
Dispatch, this is 386. I need an ambulance at my location.
Roger that, 386.
So, what's the plan, Max?
Well, since there's... Huh?
Max, you might not get another chance to keep him in the dark.
Oh, good point, Doctor. I'll fill you in tomorrow, Spencer. Drop by my office in the morning.
You two are incorrigible, but if it makes you feel better, then I'll play along. Watson and I will see you in the morning.
Come in, Spencer.
If I were Watson here, I'd ask how you knew it was me.
And if I were you, I'd probably say something like, I'm super smart, that's how. Even though I saw your silhouette through the glass.
I'd never cop to that.
No, I suppose you wouldn't.
Now who's incorrigible? Have you found the killer yet?
Not quite. I need your help with the next part.
What can we, without knowing your plan, do to help?
I need you to play doctor for a little while. I've had the body moved to the Sisters of Mercy Hospital and rigged it so that the machine shows that Mr. Cole is alive.
That's very clever.
Quite. Perhaps I am teaching you a thing or two after all.
Yeah, well, don't let it go to your head.
Too late.
So you want us to look after the corpse until someone comes along to try to do the fellow in again?
That's right.
A play right out of my own book.
What do you mean?
It is pretty familiar.
Indeed, this is how we caught that killer in New York.
I remember hearing about that. If you can avoid the same outcome, I'd appreciate it.
That shouldn't be a problem. I usually check my revolver when I'm in a hospital.
Really? I thought that you didn't go anywhere without it.
There's not a lot of use for it when you're trying to keep people alive.
I suppose, and what shall we do if the killer doesn't make an appearance?
We'll keep working on it from our end. The boys in the lab are going through all the evidence we collected from the comedy club.
All right, Watson, let's see what kind of trouble we can cause at the hospital.
Well, you look the part at least.
And in this case, I'll even be a pretty successful doctor.
I thought you said your medical knowledge wasn't sufficient for that purpose.
True, but even I can keep a corpse from dying again.
I suppose you can.
Oh, hello, doctors. I just came by to check on the patient. He needs to have his bandages changed.
Ah, well, that does seem like a good idea. Don't let us stop you. Come, Dr. Franklin. We can finish our examination when she is finished.
Yes. Nurse, if he comes to, please inquire as to his level of pain. I'd like to make sure we've given him enough pain suppressants.
Of course, Doctor.
Holmes, she must be the killer. She didn't know that he's not really dead.
Perhaps, but something doesn't seem right.
This patient is cold. He's starting to get stiff. He doesn't have a pulse. He's not alive.
Well, she is either a very good actress or she thinks she just killed the comedian.
Nurse, who told you to come change the patient's bandages?
It was a new doctor that I've never seen here before.
Where did you last see him?
At the nurse's station.
And you just notified them that the patient has been dead for quite some time, I suppose.
Yes, what's going on here?
Holmes, we have to go after him.
Yes, hurry, doctor.
There was a doctor here a minute ago. Where is he?
You mean Dr. Marty? I'm sure
Dr. Marty? Watson, it's the professor.
Which way did he go?
I'm not sure, really. I'm sorry.
Relax, Watson. Marty is long gone. I'm sure he's too smart to stick around.
But why would Professor Marty want to kill a comedian?
There must be a reason. I suspect that perhaps he is testing the waters before he enacts whatever new evil he has conjured. Come, Watson, we have work to do.
I'll call Officer Weathers and he can sort all of this out.
Good idea.
So, did they catch the professor?
No, Holmes was right. The supposed doctor was long gone. We reviewed the hospital's security tapes and found that it had not been Professor Marty after all. He had sent someone to use his name to taunt Spencer. Weathers recognized the man as a local thug and they were able to apprehend him. He confessed to burning the comedian, but knew nothing about Marty's whereabouts or plans.
Well, at least it's comforting to know that spontaneous human combustion isn't possible.
It might be possible, but I don't think it's very likely.
So, was the professor actually testing the waters for something larger?
Well, to answer that requires several stories, but I'll have to share them with you another time.
All right. I look forward to hearing the rest of the story. So what tale will you be telling us next week?
Well, next week I won't be showing up as it will be the Memorial Day weekend, but the week after I'm sure we'll have another exciting story for you, Craig.
I can't wait. Tonight's Watson Files adventure was written by Michael Helgens and directed by Scott Strosahl. Spencer Holmes and Dr. Watson were played by Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger. Additional voices were provided by Steve Rimpici and Kasey Strosahl. Until next week, this is Craig Dahlen saying good night from Strobe Studios.
Really, Jack, I'm quite certain that filing is not a goose. A goose? That was good and use whooshed together.
Use. I think that should be the word.
A goose, it's a good use. It's like an Aussie saying it. Good use, mate. Okay. My brain just exploded.
That's okay, you just put something at the end of this episode.
Yes.
Holmes, I'm surprised. Holmes? I've gone British.
He's going to redo his line anyways.
Dr. Grossberger, let's go. Come, Dr. Lipschitz. Come, Dr. Crow. I don't like that one. It's scary. Dr. Looney, come. I forgot the line already. Dr. Looney, we can finish our examination outside. Dr. Seuss, quickly. We must go find the green eggs and ham.
That one I like, for some reason. Dr. Seuss, come, okay.
The patients are revolting.